Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a fascinating new report from Bob Slovic over at Virtualization Options LLC. Now, they're a Colorado-based technology research and advisory group, and they're making a pretty bold claim that AI isn't just going to tweak our schools, it's going to completely rebuild them from the ground up. And let's just start with a number from their research that really makes you stop and think. The traditional one-size-fits-all education model, the one most of us experienced, it only really works for about a third of the students in a classroom, just 34%. Right, so you have to wonder, what about everyone else? What about the other two-thirds? Well, that question is really the engine driving this huge shift in education. And this report argues that AI-powered personalization is the answer we've been looking for. Okay, let's really get into this. So, first things first. To really get why this new approach is such a big deal, we have to understand the problem with the old one. For more than 100 years, our public education system has basically been running on an industrial model. It was designed for standardization, not for individual students. And this really lays out the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got the old industrial model. It's rigid, the student has to bend to fit the system. But on the right, with personalized learning, the whole script gets flipped. The system actually bends to fit the unique needs of the student. So the big question is, how in the world does AI actually do this? How does it create a totally unique learning path for every single student? Well, it's not magic, that's for sure. It's a really smart, continuous four-step process that's all driven by data. So the system is constantly watching and learning. It collects data on how a student interacts with the material, then uses machine learning to spot patterns. From there, it builds this incredibly detailed profile of that student. But here's the key. That last step, continuous refinement. It's always updating, always getting smarter. According to the research, this process can eventually nail down a student's learning preferences with an amazing 87% accuracy. Okay, so that's the how, but what does this actually feel like for a student in the classroom? Well, the impact on learning, as the report shows, is pretty incredible. We're talking real, measurable gains across the board. First up, speed. Students who are on these dynamic AI-generated paths, well, they complete their learning objectives 23% faster. But it's not just about going faster, right? It's about what actually sticks. And they also show 18% better retention of the key concepts they're learning. And this one might be the most impressive of all. That immediate, personalized feedback loop that AI provides, it can accelerate the entire learning process by up to 40%. That's a game changer. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Does this make teachers obsolete? It's a common fear, but the report argues the complete opposite. It's not about replacing teachers, it's about reimagining their role. It's about creating this powerful new partnership between human smarts and artificial intelligence. And this table just shows it perfectly. Look at how the strengths complement each other. The AI handles all the heavy data lifting and the tedious administrative stuff, and that frees up teachers to focus on the things that only humans can do. The emotional support, the moral guidance, and inspiring a love of learning. And this isn't just theory. Listen to this quote from a 5th grade teacher in the report. She talks about how that instant guidance completely changes how our students think about mistakes. They stop seeing them as failures to be afraid of and start seeing them as opportunities to learn and get better. That's huge for building confidence. Okay, but let's be real. A transformation this massive is never a simple plug-and-play kind of deal. The report is very upfront about the fact that there are some really significant challenges around ethics, bias, and equity that we have to navigate very, very carefully. I mean, today's AI platforms are amazing, but they have their limits. They're fantastic at adjusting difficulty on the fly, but they really struggle to measure those deeper, more human skills like creativity or critical thinking. And on top of all that, the risk of algorithmic bias is a very real, very serious concern. So how do we handle all those risks? Well, the report lays out this critical ethical framework. And the big takeaway here is that these principles, fairness, transparency, privacy, they can't just be an afterthought. They have to be baked into the design of these systems right from the very beginning. And we absolutely have to talk about equity. This research shines a pretty harsh light on a serious digital divide. You've got nearly a third of students who don't have reliable internet at home. You have schools that are 3 to 4 years behind in adopting technology. And maybe the biggest hurdle of all, look at that last bar. Nearly 3/4 of teachers feel they just aren't prepared to use these tools effectively. So you take all this,
The incredible potential on one hand and these very serious challenges on the other, where does that leave us? What does the future of education really look like, according to this research? Well, the report wraps up with this really powerful vision. The future isn't a choice between a human teacher or an AI. The future is a partnership, one that combines the best of both worlds to augment, not replace, that human connection and ultimately to unlock the potential inside every single student. And that leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. As AI gets better and better at personalizing the what we learn, the curriculum, the facts, the human role of teaching the how we learn, with wisdom, with critical thinking, with ethics, that role becomes more important than it has ever been.